How do we do profanity here?
Have at it.
Okay.
I know you, boy.
I really try not to.
Do you?
Yeah.
I like using it. You know,
Sometimes.
When
I
is
mean,
that-
there's some things
yeah.
like
Emphasis.
Mark Twain said it had more power than prayer. To make, I can't do the quote exactly, but yeah, I don't like my old profane self.
No? Did you
No.
used to be more profane?
Yeah.
When was this? A couple years ago?
Don't want to, but we'll get this a little closer.
Oh, I started being a little more sensitive to it, 15 or 20 years ago, and it's just kind of makes you look stupid because, profanity is just a crutch for an inarticulate motherfucker. That's not on tape, is it?
It's gonna be. No, we do the little talk before. Whenever you're ready, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Check 1,
recording,
2.
but-
Is good?
Yeah. Okay. Do you just want to count this? You want to start it off?
Yep. I'll start it off.
All
All right. In 5, 4, 3. Hey guys, how's it going? Nick Campbell here with my good buddy,
David Steele.
and we are Rhythm and Wit. What's going on? All right, and we have today our guest is Dennis Maley,
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
the granny freak himself.
Yeah.
Uh,
Only.
Yeah, I was hoping to pick your brain about getting these grannies. Yeah, what's your lead? What do you go into? What's your first word? Are you like, hey, I'm right here?
Just a smile.
Is
Just
it?
a smile, yeah. Actually, being vertical
Yeah.
is a big plus. And make sure they know that I can drive after dark.
Mhm.
Yeah, is that how you
Works
win?
almost every time.
Does where do older people? Is that why there's an early bird special? I mean, the time change that happened today had to screw all y'all up.
Yeah.
Is that what?
You're trying to ask me where do I meet women?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I go to the senior center over at Mustang all the time, but that's not really a place for meeting women. And irrespective of what most people think, funerals are not a really good place to meet people.
Yeah.
Church probably would be, but I
Mhm.
don't do that.
Yeah, you've been away a little bit.
Sad to say, I should go, but I don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, man, something I do want to talk. You've been. When did you start? When did you
I
start?
started, the first comedy I did was probably September or October of 2022.
Yeah.
2000. So you haven't done anything
Rest
before
in
then
peace.
at all? Whoa.
I hadn't done any stand-up-y kind of
Yeah.
things, I've
Mhm.
spoken in public.
Okay.
Where at? Where'd you do that at?
I don't know. I always wanted to do, when I was in the accounting business, I wanted to do continuing education classes.
Teaching.
Yeah, that'd be. I've never been afraid of speaking in front of a
Mhm.
crowd. When I was in high school, we had the senior dinner. Who has to stand up and speak at the senior dinner in a class of 70 or 80 kids? Me. They picked me to
Yeah.
stand up and do that sort of stuff. And I was never in any of the speech classes or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then in my 50th class reunion,
Yeah.
they had to have a speaker. My hometown is relatively small, and it's a total school reunion. And this class that had 50th reunion, they picked have somebody stand up, and I said, "Well, I thought you had several stooges lined up to talk." And my friend Nancy, she said, "No, Dennis, you're the only stooge we got." So
So that's where have you always do interjecting comedy in those types of things when you are speaking in public and make them funny?
probably I probably was as close to a class clown
Yeah,
as what we
okay.
had growing up, and
Mhm.
I was a lot more interested in entertaining
Mhm.
my classmates
Yeah,
than I was
making people
getting
laugh
good
that
grades
way,
and stuff
yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is a good trait for an accountant. Yeah. Was that your whole job? Like you were accountant, you retired, you did that. That was your career?
I got a degree in accounting and went into public accounting with street accounting. Did mostly income tax returns for people like you,
Poor people,
and I mean regular people, or I mean I didn't do work for IBM or big companies like that, big banks.
So you had your own business
Later, I was a partner in a firm when I was like 25 probably, and was a partner with one guy for 30 plus years, and then did the last 10 years that I did it all alone. No bookkeepers, no secretaries, no nothing. Just did everything myself because I'm not very good at managing people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What is it? What's the difficulty there? What do you think?
Managing people?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not good at it.
Yeah.
Every time there was some crappy thing to do, I had to do it.
Yeah.
And I would, be grunting it out and where are you going? Well, Sally needs a ride to school. And so see you Monday,
Yeah.
and I was always the one, if anybody had to hold their paycheck, me.
Yeah.
Who co-signs the note at the bank? Me. So, what do I need a bookkeeper for? I'm doing it all anyway. So.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. If it's, you want to do it right, so you do it yourself. I mean, that's why I always feel like I'm probably similar in that way, because like I know that I can do it better than most people or certain things. So it's like, why would I let, somebody else screw it up when I can just do it? But it obviously puts all the work on me, which is like, I don't know.
You're reading my mail.
Yeah.
That's the way I was.
That's how I do it. Yeah.
You don't have anybody work for you?
Right.
No,
Yeah.
like the old man will come out every once in a while when he's bored.
Right.
But him, or I'll bring Ryland, or if I just need a warm body, somebody to catch a wire while I'm up in the attic.
So you literally need
whoever's
share a
close.
pair of hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But most of it I've learned, you'd be surprised what you can get done on your own, or what kind
But
of
you
way.
used to supervise a bunch of people, right?
Yeah, I ran $1 million business, projects,
Yeah.
and
It's not very rewarding, is it?
no, it's not, and I'm
all
the
of
kind
the
of guy.
thanks you get
Yeah.
for
There's no
Right.
thanks.
yeah, that's exactly right.
One time my project manager came up and he's like, he comes up to our job, and I did really good. Most of my job was like, keep your head low so nobody watches you. So if nobody hears from you, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're working on out in Purcell on the I think it was Choctaw Health Center. So they were building this whole new health center,
Right.
Pool and everything. And I was foreman over that, and I had like a crew of 10. And so everything was going good. He comes out and he goes, "Thank God you got this job done so well, man. It's the only job I don't have that's in the red."
Oh yeah.
I was like, "Oh, awesome, dude. I was looking for a raise." He's like, "Hold on."
Do that.
But I did. I asked for a raise because I was like, because he never had to bother with me.
Yeah.
My dad taught me everything about how to run a job right when I started. So I got to watch him do it. So I watched him for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he was really good. He's good at getting people to work for him, because he was a good guy. And but I asked him for a raise, and there was this other guy. I've been doing it now for almost 20 years, but back then I was probably doing it for about 8 or 9. And there was another guy who'd been doing it for 6, but he was like buddies. And this is kind of where all that like buddy system kind of, works against you.
Right.
But he ended, I was like, "Hey, I need a couple dollars raise." This is back when that insurance took a hike, during the Obamacare stuff. And it was like, I went from paying $300 to $400 a month to $1,200 a month. And for my whole family. I was like, "Hey
Right.
man, I got to get a raise. I mean, otherwise I got to move,
Yeah.
And
So
he's like,
that's-
"Well, we don't think you're worth it yet." I was like, "Oh, well, you're going to hate it when I leave."
Yeah. So was that like right before you started your business? Or
No,
roughly?
that was before I went
Or,
to,
I remember that happening to you with that huge increase. But I remember that was like towards the end of your working for other people.
yeah, that's about whenever I decided like, I can't,
yeah.
because I worked so hard and I did all that work and
Yeah.
it didn't do anything,
Right.
and it didn't
'Cause
matter.
I remember, you really
Yeah.
struggled with working for companies towards the end of that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, you start to see all the stupid. You're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, these guys don't know." I had a guy who was running me when I quit, because I quit and went somewhere else for like
Yeah.
$40 an hour, and they had all the benefits and everything. But the thing
Right.
is, they stole your soul. You had to work
Yeah.
Right.
forever.
Right.
We were working 22-hour days sometimes. and it was tough. And the guy that was running me was 1 year journeyman, and he's always asking me questions.
Yeah.
And then eventually I went up to the other, like his boss, he asked me, he was like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I was like, "Well, I got to babysit. It doesn't make any, I should be making more," And then that guy tried to fight me because that's how construction used to be.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "All right, man. I mean, I guess we can," And then he was like, "No." And then he got all mad and walked away, and I just packed up my stuff and I left. I was like, "I don't need this, dude." And then that's when I was like, "I'm gonna start my own shit."
It sounds like you got it all figured out. That's about the way everything else in the world works, as far as I can see.
Yeah. I wish I was ignorant. A lot of times I wish I was stupid. I really do,
exactly
man.
what you mean.
Yeah.
They seem happier.
Yeah.
Like all the guys that just like, man, you just get up, you go to work, maybe drink a beer before you show up, like all these people that you're dealing with, and you're over here like, I'm going to do a good job. And then the boss is like, well, I mean, this guy, I used to work for this old company. I'm not going to say their name because this is bad, but like they would do this thing where they're like, yeah, we want you to take off. We want to miss a day a week because we can pay you less.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're stuck with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was working with them for a while, but, anyways, man, it was wild, dude. I hate the whole experience doing construction. Just kind of made me think like, all right, man, I'm gonna work.
Well,
for
being
myself.
self-employed, it's not any way of staying right with the Lord, but it's better than working for an outfit like that, which almost everybody has to do.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Tough but deal. Did you have is that why you went on your own?
I always wanted to work for myself.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be an accountant. I never had a fond dream to be a CPA, but the accounting was pretty easy. I thought everybody that I was in college with thought it was difficult, but it just seemed kind of natural to me. And so I was able to matriculate.
Oh, what was that? What do you think that means?
With a degree in accounting. My overall grade point was higher than my grade point in my major, though. They were awful grade. I worked all the time. I was in school. And so I don't have fond memories of going to college. That wasn't a highlight of my life.
Yeah, you didn't have the fun times that most people talk about. No. What'd you work at the time?
Oh gosh, I went to University of Tulsa, and I worked as a butt boy at a swimming pool place for a while.
Explain butt boy.
Butt boy. Well, when you hire on, you're a delivery boy. But as soon as you get the job, they have you start cleaning the toilets and stuff like that. That's a butt boy.
Yeah.
So, and then I got sick of that pretty quick because I didn't like cleaning toilets, and I worked a summer job at a manufacturing plant that made heat exchangers, those big pressure vessels. Tulsa's got a big presence in that industry, and I worked as a hand, and doing that. What's amazing, I came out with all my fingers and toes intact, and then I worked for J.C. Penney's for a while. I hated that.
Retail.
Oh yeah.
No, I was in the warehouse, like shipping and receiving, and one day. Is the downtown store. One day a customer had a explosive attack of diarrhea in the basement level, and I guess left a trail from one corner of the basement to the other, and they called Dennis, get down here with a bucket and some hot water and soap, and I got down there and pushed the bucket and the water and the soap off the elevator, and then went and hid out.
Did you?
Because I wasn't ready to be that kind of a butt boy. But anyway, they wanted me to work way too many hours during Christmas, and I still was going to school. So then I got a job reading gas meters, and
walking and reading them.
Yeah,
to people's houses,
reading them. Yeah, they don't. I think that's technologically outdated now.
For the most part.
I remember being a kid. That's what mom about it because there's a strange man in our backyard. Every now and then.
That's your uncle.
Yeah. So I remember that briefly, but yeah, it's probably not a thing these days, is it?
Nah, they do it in Del City. They still check the water meter at Del
Right,
City, you
right.
know, which is an act in all of itself, you know. It's really just a way for them to charge us more,
Right.
right? Because those water meters do have they have the sensors on them now. Have you seen
Uh-huh.
them? Anyways, I don't know why they do that.
I don't know how they replaced all that, but somehow or another they did. And, the last house I lived in had a basement, and the meter was in the basement. We never had a meter reader come, so they got some device on it that lets them read it from outside. I guess I don't know if they read it from downtown or if they have to walk by to get the reading. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they have like a little sensor now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever you start, so at this time, you're not thinking about comedy, or is it still in your brain? Are you thinking you might try it?
Oh, I mean, I still was smart ass.
Yeah.
You're
always practicing in some way with your coworkers or whatever, just joking around.
Yeah, and I don't know, and then believe it or not, some things about practice and accounting were pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I don't but I think we shouldn't talk about me much more than about 5 more minutes. It's not really not that interesting, but I got, needing some creative expression
Yeah.
other than just making up shit for doing tax returns without a,
Yeah.
yeah, Nick bought a truck last year, right? A big truck.
Yeah. Floats on water.
I thought for a while I could write screenplays.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I wrote some, then figured out, this was before digital. I figured out that there were about 400 theatrical movies that were made a year, and about 400,000 screenplays that were written every year. And so, I was just...
That's the accounting in you right there.
Running the numbers.
Yeah, I ran the numbers. Fine. I mean, it took me several years to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so there was a couple or 3 of the stories that I liked that I'd written, and ultimately I had this stroke event, kind of tiny little stroke event.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was probably 2015.
Oh, okay.
Something like that,
10 years ago.
2014. And I thought, well, I'm going to try to so I self-published some books with, it conformed my screenplays to more of a novel format.
Whoa, what are they called?
The first one is...
Right makes might.
here's the stroke kicking in all of a sudden.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
3 Links of Chain.
Ooh.
It's a story about a runaway slave boy in 1850s Kansas.
Whoa.
And it's really written for middle graders.
Okay.
Then I wrote kind of a sprawling story about strange people during the Renaissance. And something kind of like as if Forrest Gump had been in the Renaissance.
That's fun.
And that one's called Profane Fire at the Altar of the Lord.
Okay. Dang,
And,
titles.
Killing it.
And then I wrote some nasty stories. They're not nasty. They were off color stories, and I didn't want my mother to have to read them, so I published them under a fictitious name.
What's the pen name?
That they were short stories. My pen name was T. Bob Corvus.
Okay.
T. Bob Corvus.
Right.
Why?
Well, my dad's name is Robert.
Okay.
Oh, okay, got you.
In South Louisiana, if your dad's named Robert, they call him Bob, of course, and then the son's T. Bob.
Okay.
So I don't know. Your
Okay.
dad's name is
Steve.
Steve, so you'd be T. Steve, is what they would call you,
Oh.
or Steve is in French is gosh,
Uh,
all of a
Stefan?
sudden, Etienne. So you might be something, T. Etienne. They might call you
okay, so
something
it's
like
just like
that.
a French type of.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I
T,
never- yeah.
or we would put T on the end of a word, like
Uh-huh.
to make it sound diminutive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
In the French, the T is at the front.
Mhm.
So
I never knew that. That's
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. That's
you
pretty
learn
cool.
something every day,
Yeah.
don't you?
T. Bob Corvus. That's a cool
Corvus is-
WWE name.
Corvus is
Yeah.
crow in Latin.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah. So,
Very eclectic, dude. I dig it, man.
so those were just kind of some naughty stories that nobody's bought that.
Right.
Self-published them. You can get them on Amazon. Nobody's bought that.
yeah.
No, but nobody. I mean,
Wow.
nobody.
No, not one
Nobody.
person.
I don't think I've sold not one copy of that. I may make $30 or $40 a month off of the one that's for middle graders.
Mhm. Oh, interesting.
Nothing
That's
off
pretty
the
good.
others.
I mean, it's something.
Yeah.
Better
well,
than a
you're
sharp stick in
published
the eye.
writer. Yeah.
Self-published. I mean,
yeah.
people,
Yeah.
writer people, they really look down your nose at you
Yeah.
if you say you're self-published.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. They'll be okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah,
that's the way I expressed
your
myself
creativity.
during
Yeah,
that period of
that's cool.
time, and then so
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that you had. I mean, you write your books are about history. Have you always liked history? Did you study history at all, or just always been interested in that?
well, I kind of interested in history, but as far as story goes,
Yeah,
I was writing stories about paired opposites,
yeah. So you just
like
find
you
out
and
that-
Nick.
Yeah, like kind of a juxtaposition type of contrasting
Mhm,
ideas. That's
mhm.
cool.
We see a lot of these buddy cop movies where
Mhm.
one is
Right.
really crazy and the other one is real
Yeah,
straight laced. And
like Lethal Weapon. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that recently for some reason.
paired opposites make for interesting
Yeah,
stories.
for
So
sure.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Well, I want to talk about this. So whenever you hit the scene,
Mhm.
you already had this really cool, funny persona. Did you have it
Yeah.
No.
pre-made, the granny
No.
freak thing?
no,
You
no.
didn't?
When I first started doing it, I took my banjo and I just would make
okay.
some smart ass remarks in between my songs.
Where was that at? Was that at 40 West?
Anthem,
Anthem?
That was at a
Brewery.
brewery. Yeah, I've heard of
Oh,
that
okay.
place. I don't think I've been there, but
pardon me, it's not Anthem. It's Angry Scotsman.
okay.
Oh, okay.
It's down there by Lively.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know where'd I come up with Anthem.
Well, that's another.
That's
one.
another one.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's another
Hey,
brewery.
why I came up anyway.
Yeah.
But
Angry
so you were starting out with your
Scotsman.
banjo,
Yeah.
and what did you have stuff prepared, or you're just like, I'm gonna mess these
I
people
had
up?
a
with my
little
words?
bit of stuff
Yeah.
prepared, not very much, but
Mhm.
Was it the stuff you have now, or was it new?
this I started off probably my first thing that I beat to death was casserole.
Yeah.
The thing about older women giving you a casserole.
Okay. Yeah. That's
So,
That's
but
like
that
the
was
invitation,
something my
right?
something my dad was laughing about in his final.
he heard
Yeah.
it too, and he thought it was.
He was the
funny.
one that was laughing about it when he got moved to one of those places, you know, where,
Oh, I see.
and all the women started bringing him casseroles. He's outnumbered, 20 to 1. And he said, "I've eaten so much casserole, I never want to eat casserole again in my life."
yeah.
Well, the funny part is whenever you're like, you have to return the casserole plate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
She's like, "Can you help me get this up here?" He's like, "I knew what she was doing."
Yeah, because you have a bit with I've heard you do about casserole, right?
Yeah,
In
that's
your
what I'm-
stand
yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first bit I was doing
Yeah.
is that, and it was I don't I can't even remember. It wasn't very much later. 3 months later, probably I went down to Matt Farrell's place.
Yeah.
When they were there by the highway, there was a guy that had a something of a studio.
Okay. Oh, their podcast, is that right?
That's I think that's where they
I
did their
remember-
podcast
I
from.
remember seeing you on his podcast, or whenever we had him on the show, I was doing some research of the stuff that he did, and I remember seeing your episode with him.
In my mind at that time, I was doing like I was Uncle Buck.
Yeah.
Hmm.
'Cause
Okay.
I wasn't really trying to. I mean, that was like a persona that I did on,
Mhm.
but I wasn't coming up with a lot of Uncle Buck deals. It's just so I didn't have to be me.
Yeah, this
and
type of like
as being Uncle
character,
Buck.
right?
And but for some reason or other, I think that's where I said that's about the first time I was thinking about Alcoholics Anonymous, where people say, "Hi, I'm Nick Campbell, and I'm an alcoholic," and everybody says, "Hi, Nick."
Yeah.
So I said, "Hi, I'm Dennis Maley, and I'm a granny freak."
Yeah.
I think I only said that once, and it got a response. I was, I'm going to stick with that. And
it works.
I think Nick may have studied this more than me, but there's this type of comedy that's character comedy or brand comedy, and so I learned a little bit more about that, and but I really just kind of stumbled into that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things you said because I was asking you because it's a really good, it introduces you really well and like your style, and then you do have you have had a few girlfriends in the scene a little bit,
Now.
Yeah.
in the scene.
Yeah, the older scene. The older,
that
the granny.
Yeah, the granny scene. The whole,
Who told you?
I saw him. You forget you every time you forget that you introduced me to him.
What are you doing over at Mustang Senior Center?
Visiting ladies. But no.
Returning some casserole.
But you came up and you were like, "Hey man, he's like, you got something." You came up to me and you're like, "You got something." He's like, you got to lean into your finding a persona, because your granny freak thing, as soon as you say it, people know what you're about.
Right.
And then you wrote all those jokes to it, which is even better. And and it fits,
The joke kind of writes the jokes write themselves when you've got that.
You have that character.
And I was like, well, I'll be Husky Boy.
Yeah.
And then but then I think Husky has changed.
You haven't hit it exactly yet.
No.
You haven't hit it exactly right.
As far as the Husky part.
As far as in having that persona.
Yeah.
Now I'll talk to David because you already know this stuff.
Oh, okay, sure.
But see, there's comics who what's the right I can't say the right word, but they're observational comics, and then there are character comics, and they're really like two different things. I'm not the only one that does character comedy in Oklahoma City, but you observational comics got us outnumbered 20-1.
Yeah, it's much easier, I think, to just talk about what you see. Whereas, like, you kind of have to develop a character and really think about it.
Well, I'm not saying it's hard.
Yeah.
The joke's right. Oh, if you get the right, if you hit the right string, the jokes write themselves.
What your persona is. I think maybe it probably takes longer. Obviously, some people maybe find it quicker, but other people might take a long time to find that voice.
Let me. It's okay to talk about people and use their names and all that sort of stuff.
Specifically, Miss Kitty.
Miss Kitty puts a condom over the mic and says, people know immediately who she is and where she's coming from.
Yeah.
That does. And she gets a laugh with her first line. Boy, that's, you see people go up and say, hey, what's up, Bricktown? And you're wasting, that's 20 seconds. You need to get a laugh about every 20 or 30 seconds. And you waste 20 seconds with that.
Yeah.
But Ashley Bartlett, if you notice how much she's changed, I want to take about 1% of the credit for that. But one night I mentioned her. I said, Ashley, I really like you a lot, but I really don't enjoy listening to your comedy.
Yeah.
I don't like these suicide jokes and
dark, very dark humor.
And it's I like you so much. I hate hearing you say those things. Anyway, she said, I am working on some other stuff. And I said, I really want to hear it. And she's killing it, really.
Oh, she
lately.
Is.
Yeah. You noticed how much it's changed.
She's all over. She moves on the stage now. She's more engaging with the crowd.
And she just holds herself out as being like the most miserable person in the world. And where, and not the suicidal person that she was before. Anyway, that's whatever the change is. I like
that's
it.
Good.
Mhm.
I've
like it.
seen her.
Do you feel that's a character?
Yeah,
Oh,
That's
I
a
think.
character?
Yeah, she. I haven't really got to talk to her about it very much, but I think she would. It would be funnier if she had this. See, my granny freak character is a pervert, and everybody in the audience knows I'm a pervert,
So
but I don't. My character on the stage I don't know that I'm a pervert.
You're just,
I think I'm normal.
Yeah.
And Ashley, if she could figure out some little thing where she's part of the joke instead of
But
you
that's
know,
your through line that you're basically like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm a pervert for these
Well-
old ladies, and everybody's like, well, it's okay. Old ladies need a pervert.
well, I tell jokes,
Yeah.
but then the other part of the thing that makes it different is people are laughing at me. They're laughing at old perverts.
Yeah.
And so that's I think I'm too old to skirt around. I think I do pretty good.
Yeah.
I
You
think
do real
I'm pretty
good.
good.
Yeah, it's fun.
And,
at Legends, didn't you win the Legends comedy competition?
I did one.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
won.
one
Yeah.
time.
With that
And-
chicken joke.
Yeah.
Man, I fell out. I
like
fell
that.
out. That's the first time I
I know.
fell out.
Anyway, I don't tell that tell that
Yeah.
frequently.
That's a tough one. I've seen you do that a few times, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard because if people aren't really paying attention, or if you don't really hit it just right, it could just
Right.
doesn't work.
Right.
So you have to be very careful. I
It
think
takes
with
a
that
little
one.
build up. Yeah.
Yeah. But when it does.
Yeah, I've seen it work more often than not, for
Yeah.
sure.
But what I was gonna, I think that I get a lot of laughs
Mhm.
compared to most
Yeah,
people,
for sure. Yeah.
and they're laughing
Hmm.
in the way that I'm like Lucille Ball. She never said
Yeah.
anything funny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She just.
People laughed their ass off
Mhm.
at her
Mhm.
because they.
So if your thing is like, hey, I'm pervert but don't know it, what was Lucy's thing?
Oh,
She was a liar.
yeah.
She
She lied about everything,
Yeah.
and she screwed everything
Yeah.
up, and she always thought she could cover up her
Mhm.
mistakes and all that sort of stuff, but she never could. She's the only one
Mhm.
that didn't realize that she
Yeah.
couldn't overcome
She
all of
could
these
just-
flaws.
Yeah.
If she was just honest about things, she'd probably get
Right.
by better.
If she's just honest about everything, and people in the audience,
Yeah, then it wouldn't be funny.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a person, if she was that, if that was a real person as that character, then it's like, okay, it's funny because she is a fuck up and just screws things up and things.
Yeah. But also super physical.
Yeah,
Right,
The
so-
physical comedy. Was
but I mean,
great.
the earliest comics, on film, they didn't have
Mhm.
a microphone,
yeah,
like
like the
Charlie Chaplin
Yeah,
and Buster Keaton.
Hmm.
They didn't have any jokes to tell.
Yeah.
People were dying and rolling on the floor
Mhm.
laughing at them. So
Yeah. And those are characters. Those are the
those are because they characterized
Mhm.
themselves.
Is it because you think they assume, like, well, because of a character, you know what that character type is, you can just assume things and
Yeah.
then
Yes.
you can
Helps
subvert that
you.
assumption.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it just does a lot of heavy lifting for
Yeah.
you. I mean,
Yeah.
because you don't want to go on stage and talk for 5 minutes about why I'm the way I am.
Mhm.
Right. It should just be present.
Yeah, they should.
Uh,
It
some
helps,
people do.
helps the audience understand that character or whatever, right? Like immediately, if you can put a character in their head that they can relate to. I
Yeah.
think.
Because soon as you say granny freak,
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, shit.
know,
Hide your grandmas.
I think probably the most common example of that, David, is
Mhm.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
I get no respect.
Yeah.
He didn't. Everybody in the audience realized he didn't deserve any respect.
Yeah.
And he's the only
But
one that
he's-
thought he
yeah.
deserved it.
Mhm.
So it worked. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something for some reason or other it works.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
help me out then. What do you see? What's my character?
Yeah. What could it be?
I think you want to be the world's best dad,
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
and everybody realizes that you just aren't normal.
Yeah.
And I would like to see you try saying every once in a while when you say, like, I bought the candy for the van.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's normal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I mean, it's like, help me out. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not that bad.
Yeah, I think
like
I'm
kind
not
of
that-
agree with me.
Yeah,
kind
I
of?
I think
agree with it.
maybe
It's okay.
It's something like Dennis was saying about, he's a pervert, but he doesn't know he's a pervert. Or,
Yeah.
the granny freak is a pervert, but he doesn't know. But it's like you could use that also. And it's like you're kind of weird, but you don't know. You think you're normal, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's like because I do talk, and something I
Yeah.
notice is I do a lot of jokes about Liz,
Yeah.
and you got to be careful with that because
Mhm.
if she's not there or
Yeah,
not,
she has.
Yeah.
She's good with knives and guns.
yeah, she is better than me. She actually
Yeah.
shot more guns than I have.
Oh, yeah.
She's missed me twice. But no, I noticed that if I talk too much about her without showing that I'm the one at fault in the situation,
Mhm.
like I have this joke where I'm like, she's petty. She's petty. She only made up her side of the bed.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
does that? But if I keep going in that direction of making fun of her without showing my stuff, it'll like completely kill the mood. So you're thinking that it's more of like try to get them to agree, like, right, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the
not,
right one.
I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really, not Jeffrey Dahmer, but I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not the world's worst dad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't
Something
know.
like that. I like that.
I
I like that.
actually
you do.
have thought
Yeah.
about you in that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm right about that yet.
Mhm.
I'd like to see you fish around with it a little bit.
Because you have that bit about forgetting the kids' birthdays on the,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that happened.
yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, that's like a part of that. You're trying your hardest to be the
Good.
number one
Yeah.
dad.
I
You're
think-
exactly right, David.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're in that moment. Like in that moment, I was like, I'm doing good. I'm getting the
Yeah.
kids medicine. Like the
you're-
whole time
you're
I'm walking
showing
in.
up, you're there, and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh crap, I
But-
forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. That's normal, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's it. You guys didn't do that
That's pretty good.
because everybody laughs at that
Yeah.
moment when I'm like, hey, the kids, I forgot their birthdays because you can't get the medicine unless you you tell them their birthday,
Mhm.
and then but everybody's like, all the women are like,
Mhm.
oh
Yeah.
my god, and the
it's
men are like,
it's so relatable.
they look at each other, they're like, do you have to tell them their birthdays?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so it's a very recognizable thing too. But no,
Mhm.
I like that because it is trying. You're trying as hard as you can. Liz sent me there, and now I got to
Yeah.
call her. And
I mean,
again,
I see that now just at my job. I was telling Dennis, it's like I work with the public now a lot, and it's like, I mean, a lot of these guys will come up, and it's like they were sent there by their wives to send a package or do whatever they had to do. It's like you can lean into that more, where it's like because that happens. I mean, so many, and it's like they have no idea what they're supposed to actually do, but they know they have to do something here.
she gave me papers and told me to come here.
It's like, here's an address.
Well, Larry the Cable Guy's got a great series of jokes like that.
Mhm.
His wife says we got to do this, and he's like, oh, I ain't doing that. But I go, so I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, he just jumps ahead
Yeah.
to admits that he
I'm not
did what he
going.
said he was never going to do.
Yeah, you can't make me go. So there I am. standing in
Yeah.
front of it.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah. So what's his then? So if you're looking at
Oh,
persona
yeah.
as far as like
He's got
a flaw,
Yeah.
and he doesn't recognize it, what is his thing that
Well,
you notice?
He thinks he's
Mm.
more knowledgeable, and he's not aware, I guess, that all of these weird things about his family and his sister and all that are
Mm.
weird. I probably couldn't come up with. I can't come up with that quickly, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think about it for a while.
Did you say you think about Kitty's, and when
Yeah.
she
Kitty's?
does hers? What's Kitty's?
Kitty's, she won't. I can never convince Kitty of anything,
Mhm.
but she thinks of herself as a trendsetter,
Mhm.
Oh, sure.
and she's anything but. No, I mean that's her character.
yeah.
She thinks she's on
Yeah.
the foreskin of
Yeah.
culture, and
It's like
And-
the,
She's about to get clipped.
the electric bike thing that she has. She's like, oh, that's cool, but like nobody else thinks it's cool.
right,
Oh, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
It's cool because when she picks up her little
Yeah,
kid,
exactly.
it's like, yeah, that's funny. And the pop-up book thing,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
That's it. Yeah.
Kitty
I
gets
like that.
laughs.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she does.
Kitty gets
Well,
laughs.
she's been at it for 20-some years.
Mhm. Yeah, she's been doing it a long time. That's what's so fascinating about you, Dennis. I would never have thought you've only been doing it a couple of years, really, 2 or 3 years, right?
Well, thanks.
And it's like I remember seeing you. The first time I'd seen you was at Fairweather Friend. You used to go over there, and I remember seeing you and just was like, and this was like after you come out and you were the granny freak at that time,
Right.
So,
I'd already.
so it already kind of. That's why I think to me it seemed like you had been doing this at least a lot longer than you actually had. But one thing I always notice about your comedy, it's very like dad humor in a way. I mean, so grandpa humor, right?
Mhm.
Grandpa jokes. So, and that's like my dad. He's a grandpa, and I've always thought it's like I want my dad to come see you perform because I think that he would just get so many of your jokes.
Well, one of the things that works for me is everybody's got a granddad.
Yeah, exactly. I can relate
And they
to
all
that
make
to
fun
someone.
of him.
Mhm.
And everybody's got a grandma.
Yeah.
And so, and depending on, a lot of times the audience is grandmas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, you'd be surprised how many grandmas there are that like go to Bricktown.
Mhm. Yeah.
They don't go to JJ's
Right.
or,
But
or
yeah.
the weed store, but
They like the fancier places, and I'm sure like hopefully put a cork in
put a
it.
cork in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, as a good example of an audience of,
Yeah.
where there's a range of
Mhm.
ages
Yeah.
of people, but I don't know, just something works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and our
great.
normal crew that goes up there, we have a crew of like maybe 5 or 6 of them that come up there pretty regularly. They're older, and
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
whenever you showed up, I was like, man, we got to get Dennis in here because these people are
Yeah.
good. And they did.
Yeah.
They did. That's
Yeah,
a good
they
show
loved
for
it.
me.
They
Yeah.
ate it up, yeah,
Mhm.
and that's why the persona is so defined,
Mhm.
and that's why it was like it's hard for me to like, okay, yours is so defined. Where do I find mine?
Yeah.
But you kind of stumbled on this thing that really worked for you,
Mhm.
and then you can write against it, which is nice.
Mhm.
But you don't ever feel like sometimes you're like it's limiting.
Hmm. Or yeah, you might want to do something.
I can do
different.
observational comedy. Any joke can be an observational
Yeah.
kind of a comic joke for me. It's just that for somebody that's totally observational, the character, they can't jump over and do the character stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
no, they're the ones that are limited.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
'Cause,
right.
Because I could walk out there with a ventriloquist dummy
Mhm.
and do prop comedy.
Mhm.
And the same line of jokes
Mm-hmm.
would work in the prop comedy
Yeah.
that it works in the, but I want well, not to belabor this for too long, but I want to talk about Brandon Kilo,
Okay.
and I think it's okay to talk about him because it's like punching up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's having so much more
yeah,
success
he's doing
than I
great.
am. You're doing great.
Yeah.
So I don't think he should be insulted by somebody. If what I say sounds like critique,
Mhm.
I mean, I hope he takes it in a positive way, but
Mhm.
I'm totally out of the loop on him. I don't understand anything that he's ever talking about.
Yeah, his humor
But-
and stuff.
Well, is so much pop culture.
Yeah.
Or the Disney movie. He tells a lot of stuff
Mhm.
about Disney movies. I don't watch Disney
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
I don't know about, and I care less about what color, but I mean, he
Yeah.
finds some humor in that.
Mhm.
It just totally misses me
Mhm.
Because you're not keeping up with
Right.
because I don't care about
with
the
current
Disney movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
trending,
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
vices basically.
It works for him. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
congratulations.
Mhm.
It just doesn't work for
Well,
me.
your niche,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
niche is younger, trendy,
Right.
kind of,
Right.
and then your niche is the
I
older
like to
crowd.
think my niche is everybody
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
like you were
there's
saying
the
about-
younger people
Mhm.
laugh at it too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Like you're
'cause they
saying
see
about
it.
the grandpa.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got a grandpa.
I'm not trying to
so-
sound perfect by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination, but
Mhm.
it really works good for me to
Mhm.
do that.
Yes.
I want to see Brett Jennings
Mhm.
find a comic character and
Yeah,
steer her
'Cause-
because she's really on the verge of being terrific. I think
Yeah. Well, you see her kind of nervous character now.
Yes.
She's got.
if
she's
she would,
almost there, I
if she could
Mhm.
sharpen that character a little
Mhm.
bit.
What would you think with like? You think it's like a flaw, or the part where she doesn't know? What's the part that she doesn't know she's nervous?
Maybe it's social awkwardness,
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely
something around social awkwardness, or maybe she has a fear of being canceled.
Yeah, like this certain. I think if you define a certain specific fear or motivation, I think that goes a long way with anyone,
Yeah,
right?
but find some way of telling her audience that this is who she is
Yeah.
without saying in so many words.
Mhm.
Now, from this point forward, I'm going to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
in character doing
Right.
this. But
Yeah,
Do you know?
that's-
Is that what you're looking for when you're watching other comedians? You're like, who's their character, or if they're doing a character, like how are they presenting it? What is their flaw? What is
yeah,
their?
yeah,
You're just always watching them.
I kind of do look
Yeah.
at it through that prism. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because being a writer, like writing screenplays, have you always like paid a lot of attention to character as a concept and in that way, like your whole like?
Well,
growing
I'd
up
say
and stuff?
I just never thought about it
Right.
until I started
Yeah.
writing screenplays and
Mhm.
stuff, and that.
But that's something that you kind of understand or pay attention to.
That's something
generally.
that when I was writing screenplays, I think I probably was pedantic about it
Mhm.
with the other people that I talked to about
Mhm.
screenplays. I think a lot of times they would come up with really crappy characters. They were all
Mhm.
this in a period of time when people were wanting to write a lot about fantasy,
Yeah.
and this, my story is not a werewolf
Mhm.
story.
Mhm.
My story is a were narwhal.
Oh yeah. Weird character
But
or
it was the
something,
same
yeah.
storyline.
Yeah.
It's just they find something weird to
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they weren't characters. I
Yeah,
mean, they
it
just
was
were.
yeah.
Aware narwhal.
Yeah.
What's that called? What's the point? You're welcome,
That's it.
guys. Sunday morning.
That's
All right.
Okay.
But no, I dig it. That's something that I recognize. You're very well defined,
Mhm.
and your jokes are really well thought out in that
Mhm.
along that
Going into
persona.
that,
And it's something I always try to look at too. I have for some reason for me it's more difficult, and I think it's kind of like I think I want to be something in my head. Like I'm like, oh, I want to be this prolific, like all the comedians I like, or Bill Hicks, Louis C.K., the prolific, Chad
Right.
Daniels, where they're
Right.
talking about this stuff, and then
Mhm.
they have this really cool perspective. I'm like, I want to be that guy,
Yeah.
but then ultimately, I'm not that guy
Yeah.
in general.
It's like you have to find who you really
Yeah,
are. I think.
but I won't allow myself.
But I think that's a part of you. Wanting something is who you are too.
Mhm.
It's like, so I think that's can be a part of you. You could be like you could be a character is wanting to be something that you're not.
Yeah, or convince. I like
Yeah.
the convincing people, because
Right.
that is what I do in my normal life too. Is this crazy? Like I
Yeah.
do that a lot.
Yeah.
Am I nuts?
'Cause
Like
I think I do notice that about you and
Mhm.
knowing you for so long. It's like you always looked for validation.
Ooh, I
through
like it,
other,
Yeah, that's I like that.
Mhm.
yeah, and it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're always asking me,
Yeah.
how you come off or something like that.
Well, because I don't feel like I
Yeah.
can see it.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in the middle of being the person that I am,
Right.
and even on stage,
Yeah.
like I ask Liz, I'll ask her every time. All right, I know how I feel it went.
Mhm.
What did you see?
Yeah.
And that's what I'll ask other people,
Mhm.
just for your perspective, because I can't see me without knowing who I
Right.
am.
Yeah.
The forest for the trees kind of
Mhm.
situation. And so I think that's why I think ultimately being a comic and being a writer is finding out exactly who you are. That's the
Mhm.
craft.
That's the
Yeah.
trick.
Back when I was in the accounting business,
Mhm.
I was in sort of a club, and we'd meet once a week and look at tax court cases that came down and
Mhm.
talk about practice problems and solutions and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you wanted to be inside a club like that and talk about taxes once a week for an hour,
Mhm.
but
Sounds like a rush.
everybody wanted in that.
Yeah.
But there's not a thing for us guys
Yeah.
in the comic community to get around and spitball things with one another. And I mean, the open mics are kind
Yeah,
of spitball solutions, but
sometimes, yeah.
you don't really get any feedback.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are some of those.
I wish there was some.
They have some. Sometimes they'll have workshops. I know that there's one. The Opolis, Jennifer Johnson does now.
Right.
I haven't been to it yet, so it's like I don't. But I think it's supposed to be like a workshop where you can try practice things, and and then she'll talk. They can talk about it there. Too.
I think she's only had one, maybe two
Right. It's pretty
open
new.
mics, and
But those kinds of things,
I think that I want to go to that, but it conflicts with playing poker, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to get down there. Yeah.
But then there was also another one I remember going to at the Paramount. They used to do this was like last year, I think. That was similar. So it's like I think there should be more of those for sure. I think that'd be helpful for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and I've seen Ashley Bartlett too.
Yeah.
Whenever she was like kind of making that turn you were talking about,
Uh-huh.
she was asking the crowd a lot of times, like, "Hey, this is a joke. What do you guys think would be good here?" Like, and I really appreciate those moments where it's like, "Oh, we're just cutting through the bull crap."
Yeah.
And you're trying to get some like, "Hey, that didn't go. Why?"
Yeah.
And you just ask the crowd. At JJ's, it's a little bit more difficult, but like at Bricktown, I ask questions at Bricktown, like, "Hey, man, round of applause. Who with this?" Just to get an idea of who I'm dealing with, and then in the joke, like. I did this one thing. I'm doing this new joke, and I like homeless people. I'm just putting that out there. But it's just like a silly. It's like 3 lines, and it just came to me. But it was like, I think prostitution should be legalized, right? Look at all these homeless people.
Right.
We could be fucking them. You see what I'm saying? It's just because it's so out of left field. But does that fall in line with but then my goal is to explain to people like, well, this is why I think it's nuts. Like, why is it like we're wasting time with these people? Like I saw, like one of the big hangups I have is like, why are people not afraid of getting hit by a car anymore? Like, remember, like, every homeless people I see, they're like walking slowly across the street. Right. I used to flinch whenever I was, and then I kind of get into that, and I'll be like, what if you just hit one of them? They'll all learn. And I'm trying to convince you guys. Somebody's got to take the hit. I don't want to do it. I came up with the idea.
Somebody tells a joke about hitting. You see those signs that say, "Don't hit a worker beside the road." $10,000 fine or something like that. Somebody's got a joke about that. I can't remember.
Is that Brandon Whitaker?
Either that or Adrian Corwin.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it is. Yeah. It's like, man, I got $10,000. But that's the idea. It's like I think it's ridiculous that nobody like. There's old standards that we used to live by that I trusted the world would be like when I grew up. Right, and now we're here. It's like, hey, man, I did my part. These other kids aren't doing their part. Right. And so, but I mean, I don't blame them either. But you see that now. Like you see, I mean, from the point where you grew up and the hard work that you did to get to where you are, and now you're like, hey, that's how we did it before. And now, how do you, is that the perspective that you're trying to put? Well, I guess not really in your comedy because you do the granny freak stuff, but I've seen you try political stuff. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like, hey, you do political, and I'm not trying to get in the weeds with it, but you try to do this political stuff as the granny freak. And I've seen it, just people don't want to hear it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
People don't want to hear political stuff anyways right now.
Right.
Yeah. Especially literally right now.
When this comes out, it'll already.
This will be out next week.
So this is turning back a page. We were talking about feedback, and Matt Rainey has a mic over at Improv, and he. You can actually get a little feedback there because the crowd is different. It's not the same.
It's like the improv crowd type, audience too. So
there are a few people there that are not comics that come to hear, and so I told this one joke that I try to tell, and it never has paid off for me, but maybe one time and it's one of those really happened jokes. The doctor and my daughter were trying to convince me I needed to have my prescription taking supervised. Somehow or another, I should have somebody looking over my shoulder while I'm taking my baby aspirin, right? And so I smarted off to my daughter, who did you vote for? Because she voted for Biden. You voted for that guy as leader of the free world, and you think I need somebody supervising me taking a baby aspirin?
Yeah.
That falls like a 3-pound turd in a 1-pound sock. But it goes nowhere.
I've seen you do a similar joke like that though, where you're like, Biden is if anybody tells me that I can't do what I want to do, I'm going to get the same position that Biden got because he let him run the country.
Right.
Yeah, and that hits every once in a while.
Well, that's a turn on that same joke.
Yeah.
and I keep trying it. And at Matt's mic the other night, I tried it, and it, hit the ground.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's do a autopsy of that joke.
Yeah.
And I kind of asked people what.
Yeah.
I said, I guess I'm the only guy in the world that thinks it's funny, but
Yeah, it's something that I think certain topics these days. I mean, it was interesting when we had Kitty on. She was talking to us about how things have changed since she's been doing it in 20 years, and it's like you can't do religious jokes anymore because nobody wants to hear it. I think it's the same way. It's like politics and religion. That's something that I've always heard too. You're not supposed to talk about at the dinner table, right? So it's like that's it's interesting that people are going towards away from those things and just they don't want to hear jokes about them. I think it's tough. I mean, I think that if it's a really good joke, it doesn't really matter. I think you can still do it, but
I think the juice has to be worth the squeeze.
Right.
That's the thing is like, are you giving me a joke or are you giving me a perspective?
Right.
That's it. Right. And is the perspective overshadowing the joke?
You can't come off preachy, I think.
Yeah. Because I think you can do those. I think comedy, that's what it's for, is to talk about difficult things.
Right.
You know, when we can commiserate over the same pain and talk about it, then we end up feeling better about it.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of the way dreams are supposed to work, isn't it? You address your fears, or you sort out your anxieties while you're asleep, and maybe that's what comedy is all about.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either. I think one of my better bits is the adoption stuff, and I think because people can kind of relate to one having I think most people have a few shitty people in their family. That's just a part of living. And then, but then you're like, you get to hear about a perspective of being adopted and like running into this. And you know what it's done to me as well is like I have to dive into myself. I have to go, okay, what do I know about my adoption?
Right.
You know, and I asked my dad, which is my grandpa, and we finally went over the timeline. Like I never really got the straight of it.
Full story.
I got it at 37. I finally got the information from him. And it was basically like, hey, your mom, was too young. And then and my dad was like, well, I didn't have any kids. Yeah. He basically came in, married my mom, and then her 3 kids were his stepkids, and then they just couldn't have any more because she was older.
Right.
But he goes and tells my mom, and I know this is a really sweet thing. She goes up to my biological mom and goes, hey, listen, I can't have kids. Let me have these boys. Like I want to raise kids from the beginning. I don't want them fucked up like when you were here, like when you were older. And so like he basically was like, I'll take them. And so kind of guilted her a little bit, but was like, hey, let me, and he did. And then he raised both of us. And that's a perspective where it's like, okay, well, that's the first time somebody's like, I feel like that's when somebody wanted us.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're looking at that pain and that understanding and like who else has felt that.
Right.
And then you can see it whenever I go, hey, who else was a rescue? And somebody goes,
yeah.
You're like, who rescued you? Who did it? And so it's like a point of pride almost, I noticed that people who are adopted are a lot more grateful. You know what I'm saying?
But it's like going back to that thing. It's like you have to, when you're talking about figuring out the real story and the real truth, it's like figuring out why, like what's like you were saying, like the real trick is that someone wanted you, versus the before. It's like you have to figure that part out to make the joke, I think.
Yeah.
To have it hit as hard as it does.
Well, I mean, what's the norm? What I've been leaning into is like, well, somebody, they always tell kids like, hey, you were adopted. And they're like, oh, I was adopted. I was like, no, I was chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just you were a grab bag. They just, they picked me. Yeah. So there's kind of an angle that I've been messing with a little bit. But anyways, to get off that. But do you find that the truth is in there underlying in your persona? Like that persona of, you're not really a pervert, but you do like old ladies.
Yeah.
You like older ladies.
Well, not to get too philosophical, but if it's not true, if it doesn't have a truth, a kernel of truth in it, it's not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I have an example of that, of course. But I tell this one joke. I said, most days I'd rather have a good bowel movement. Okay. And this lady who was a friend of a friend was in the audience. She said, that is so true. And that it's got to be true. There's got to be a kernel of truth in it. there for somebody, or it's not funny at all.
Right.
You know, that's like, have you seen videos of a kid falling off of a horse?
Mhm.
Now, it's funny if a preacher falls off of a horse, but it's not funny if a little kid falls
Yeah.
off a horse. Or
Mhm.
you've seen, I mean, there's just no
Yeah. So-
whatever. But the if absent truth, it's not. It's just people up there yapping their gums. You know, it's not funny at all.
When you say that part, that I'd rather have a good bowel movement.
Uh-huh.
That I'm living. I mean, I live that now. I mean, as an older man,
You're
who's
having
eating
trouble
poorly.
with your bowel movement? So?
Well, I was that when I see who you use. But I'm saying it's like whenever that does ring true, that is that kernel of truth where it's like
Mhm.
on those days,
Yeah.
I would rather have a good bowel movement than anything else, than
Mhm.
especially pussy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want none of that. Please get away. I don't want to have to work hard. I just want to sit here, lay here. I want to
Yeah.
lay here. You know.
You are getting old, aren't you?
Yeah. But I think ultimately what you're doing with your persona, yeah, I am. The is you're holding up a reflection. You're really holding
Yeah.
up a mirror. Like, hey, this is a truth in the world.
Yeah.
You know, these guys exist.
I think so.
Let's make fun of
That's
it.
probably true. I don't. You know, I don't have an exclusive on that.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody that does comedy does
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, trying to show. That's what I think is comedy. It's just like you were saying about observation. I mean, it is pointing out the obvious that a lot of times people don't want to talk about. But I think whenever you do, you can make it humorous and funny and make people think about it in a different way. Like you're always saying too, you know, putting that little curly Q at the end of something even horrible, you know,
Mhm.
that you want to try to avoid, but you can change your whole perspective on it if you can laugh at it at all. So I think that is the power of comedy. But I think it's almost the whole point is just pointing things out in different ways. Like you can do it with a persona or just observational humor, but it's I think it's very powerful and very needed.
Yeah.
probably crowd work is another
Hmm.
wrinkle that somebody can do. You know,
Yeah,
not me.
That's what I was gonna
You're
say.
not a
I
crowd
don't
work guy?
think I've
You don't
ever
like mess
really
with it?
seen you do crowd work at all.
Mhm.
Even to the point where you like ignore people if they are. You know, it's like you just keep doing your bits.
I can't
Which-
think that fast.
Yeah,
you know, I
yeah.
do have to sit down
Right.
and pencil them out.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I always thought about that because whenever you do your stuff, you're trying to be on top of your jokes. You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And I think, man, that would, I've seen you where you've kind of like because you carry notes because it's kind of hard since you had your stroke,
Sometimes I
right?
do.
Yeah,
Sometimes
Yeah,
I
you're
do.
trying to for your because you've told me before your memory's not obviously not what it used to be,
Hmm.
but you let me try to see what I'm saying here. Sorry,
Well, you can insult me. That's okay.
I'm trying to make sure I say this right. I think if you leaned into that, if you were like just lost yourself for a minute, you're like, oh yeah, better than a casserole, you know, like
Yeah.
because I don't think you're gonna get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, I think you kind of
Yeah.
lean into it. I think the same thing with Anna.
Yeah.
You know, when she does lose that
That's what I'm
for a
saying.
second, it's kind of endearing.
It's the second.
You know?
Dennis is the second stroke survivor we've
Yeah,
had
that's
on the
true.
podcast.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot about
On
that.
a road.
Well, hers is so much. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
I'm embarrassed to call
Yeah.
mine a stroke
Mhm.
compared to what she went through.
Mhm.
Mine was so tiny,
Mhm.
and but you know, it has had some effect on me. You know, I could tell the effects.
Yeah.
Something's
But I think
different.
those moments you come off like not perfect, which is great.
Right.
One of the best things you did that show at Go Laugh, and it was
Okay.
Mhm.
mostly the people that like it was a lot of your friends and
Right.
family, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And you could tell they were when you're watching the crowd react, they were like, I didn't know. I
Yeah.
didn't know Dennis was like this.
That's awesome.
And then whenever you went into that, you did forget something for a second, and then you like, put your nose
Mhm.
back out, and then but they were like, oh, you know, like they're kind
That's
of
okay.
endearing, kind of like, and that's what I'm saying is I think those moments you just lean into and go, I forgot.
Yeah.
It's not hard to
I
do.
mean, yeah,
you know?
because you have a great excuse. I mean, you're older
Mhm.
and you've had a stroke, so it's like you know,
You got it at the Red
You're a
Dot.
young man going up there forgetting your jokes, and you just look like a moron. You
Yeah.
know, it's like,
Which
but I
that could be
think-
part of your persona.
but yeah, it's like you could kind of use that, I think, too.
Yeah.
for sure.
And you could even forget, like, put it in a story.
Yeah.
Like, I was giving this lady her casserole, and
'Cause
then I
that-
forgot where her house was. She was
Yeah.
across the street.
That
you
could
know?
be very funny too if you did use that. I can just imagine like a bit where it's like you're telling a joke and then you just stop and just, go off into another thing, and then you come back and you remembered what you were talking about and bring it back, because that's always very funny when you bring a joke back, right? Like,
you could be like, I was ribbed for her pleasure, and it was, oh fuck, I missed it. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so I was helping this lady up the casserole. Oh, corn.
Like kind of go into that. I think that would be
just kind of like I think that'd be cool to play with the forgetfulness, because when it happens, then it's more of like a fun thing.
Well, you got more future in this business than I do. Another 2 or 3 years, if I'm able to cobble together anything and get on stage, and get off without hurting myself, that's probably a miracle.
Yeah, good thing I got that ramp.
I don't have any. I don't have any preconceived notions about having a special on Netflix or anything like that, or being on late night TV talk show. No way. I'm just doing this because it's kind of fun. I don't want to sit around the house in the evening, and
definitely keeps you involved. Like, you when Kitty was talking about how you get out and you meet people, and it's like it's harder to do as you get older, and it's like especially you're retired, you don't go to work anymore, so it's like, what do you do with your time?
Well, I go to the senior center. I told you I play banjo in a jam a couple of times a week.
Okay, so and get together with those people.
Getting those guys to quit talking and come on, play, and
let's play some music.
I'm just like. And my poker, the guys I play poker with are the same way. Just, gee, many Christmas, I'm spending too much time around old people.
Keeps you young.
And,
with these
well,
young guys.
I don't know if it keeps me young, but I like the social intercourse with young people is a lot more enjoyable than the social intercourse of the old guys.
I hope you're asking for consent. Not falling for that shit again. But no, I see it. You look happy. I mean, you look like you're having fun.
I have fun.
The best time to do art is whenever you don't give a shit. Like, and I feel like you can feel it off the people when they're up there. They're like, I don't want to fuck up.
And
you're like, I'm just glad to be here.
Right. Yeah, I'm just glad to be vertical.
Yeah,
it's a good day for me.
It's like when these people that are so stressed out about trying to get on Netflix or kind of stuff, it does take away the fun. A lot of times.
The thing is, you've had success. You won that Legends. You got $250 and they gave you a spot. Right. And you also were one of the main people on the main stage of Wild West Comedy Fest. Alongside John Carden, super funny guy out of Austin. I mean, you say you don't want to get big. I mean, really, I think we should, me and Dave, we're offering this to you. I'm doing it for you. We're offering this to you. We will record your next large set. So we have something to remember you by. And then
play it at my funeral.
He was good. Look at him. Look at his chicken joke.
We can do that for sure. I love that.
But no, I think that you do a good job, man. I mean, to be honest with you.
Well, I try as hard as I can. I didn't try hard when I was in school to be a student, but like the things like baseball and football and that sort of stuff, I always tried as hard as I could. And when I first started in the accounting business, I always tried as hard as I could. I get a little annoyed at some of you young guys
for
just wanting to be part of a group. It just I coached Little League baseball and Little League basketball and that soccer when I was almost always an assistant coach. I'm not trying to promote myself into being like Tim Walls or anything like that. And the kids annoyed me because they didn't try as hard as I did when I was a kid. They knew they were going to get to play half the game no matter what. And okay, so after the soccer game, the whole deal of going to soccer is so you could get a juice box after it's over. Hey, the hell with the game, let's go get the juice box, And I think that there's a number of guys that are doing comedy, guys and girls doing comedy, that, okay, that part of it's over with. I'm going outside and I'm going to have a blunt.
Yeah, I'm going to get my juice box.
It's a juice box. I mean, it's something hard and straight that you suck on, I'll leave it to somebody else to figure out the
Yeah.
Sigmund Freud aspects of that.
Yeah.
But that's not the way I grew up. I mean, if you didn't, I got cut from baseball teams,
Yeah.
and I didn't get to play hardly any
And
when I
yeah.
played football.
Yeah.
Till I got to play when I was a senior, but I didn't hardly ever get to play before.
Yeah.
4 years of getting the crap beat out of you so you could play 9 games when I was a senior. These kids, I know kids now in first and second grade that played more football than I ever did.
Yeah.
Actually in games,
yeah.
you know. And but so I mean you really kind of had to try in order to not get cut and get in the game and all that sort of stuff. And these guys I see these young guys, they think they're going to get a Netflix special, I guess, but they go to the open mics and they go to the Bricktown and stuff like that and just mail it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
That annoys me. It annoys me when I seeing the guys behave that way and people get up and walk out.
Oh yeah. Then kill the stage.
They kill it for
Yeah,
everybody
right.
else, Is it bad enough, anyway,
Yeah. No,
I'm getting
I
biblical
think
now.
I think that's a great point to bring up because it's like I think it goes back to this thing that we kind of have lost in, especially here, but I mean I'm sure in lots of places. Like it's so accessible to do comedy now. It's like there aren't any really good leaders that are like the coaches. There aren't any coaches
Right.
that are cutting
Right.
people that
Right.
shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
That's something that I think we do need. And I think traditionally has been a thing. I just always think about like the Comedy Store, the history. I know a little bit about that, and I think in Los Angeles, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's like, and they had the who was it? Pauly Shore's mom,
Mitzi.
Right.
yeah,
Mitzi
she
Shore.
was the one that was the coach.
She was the make or break.
She passed you.
It's like you
Yeah.
need that. I think in this game of comedy that we're doing, and we don't really have that here.
Well, you also don't. I mean, as far as being here in Oklahoma and Bricktown, you being the only place really that you can work, unless you want to go to Tulsa and start working Looney Bin on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
But I think that there's not a. It doesn't. You don't see the way to get there.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
problem too. It's
Mhm.
like if
Just
it's hard to
not
shoot
really.
for a goal when it's all ambiguous. It's like, how do I get on this stage and host? Now I just say that to say this, like there is online a place where you can go to sign up to be an MC at Bricktown,
Right.
and it tells you everything that they want from you,
Right.
which is clean material.
Mhm.
They say the cleaner you are, the more opportunity you're going to have. And then they want you to submit a 5-minute video. And then they say in the paperwork, if you want to become a regular, that you have to try to do 5 minutes of new material every month.
Mhm.
So that means they want you to record, build, and do all that with a 5-minute set every month to submit. And if you see that over time, I think that's where people miss it
Yeah.
because they're not reading
Right.
the bottom line on that. But I mean, you've seen other people, that are very crude that end up getting spots. So it's like, but they're very talented too.
But yeah, that's what you said. Like you should be clean, but you don't necessarily have to.
No. PG-13. I mean, as long as you're not going up there like this is my dick.
Yeah. But
I
there's
mean-
definitely a lot of guys. I'm sure. It's like I don't spend as much time at the mics as I used to or was early in the year. But like I'm sure there are definitely a lot of guys like you were saying that just go up and just say crude stuff and think that it's gonna get a laugh, or maybe it does get some, but they don't put the work into it that actually makes it a good joke.
I kind of had it in mind. Maybe I would say something about women in comedy too.
Mm-hmm.
Mark this spot.
This is time to cut.
Yeah. Go ahead and turn it off. Yeah.
Hard edit. I really feel sorry for women in comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them have to hold themselves out as being sluts
Mm-hmm.
in order to make
Right.
and I don't like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's one positive thing about Kitty
Mm-hmm.
is she doesn't.
The one.
Just the one.
She by the way, she made some koozies for me. I want to make sure
Oh,
and share
nice.
with you guys. And
Yeah. I love
the
better to be dirty than dusty.
I'm sure it's fluffing your nuts. I figured that'd be the one that was on there. Oh, this is
I
good.
love it.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate
But I mean,
that.
you've seen so many lady comics
Mhm.
on TV and locally too. I mean, their main joke is like a funny thing happened to me the other day when I was giving oral sex
Yeah.
to an ex-con or
Yeah.
a runaway felon, and come on, I don't want it to be that creepy. I don't,
Mhm.
but I don't think they're inviting bad things from people.
Mhm.
But if there's weirdos in the audience,
Right.
they think they can
Mhm.
do something to prey on women like that. I hate it for them that seems to
Yeah.
be
That's
that. And give Kitty a little bit of credit because she doesn't really launch herself on that
Yeah, she
on that
doesn't.
track.
Yeah.
About so
That's why I like Anna's perspective too.
Mhm.
Anna
Anna,
has
yes, yeah,
very good a mom, a woman living in the world with challenges of
Right.
a mom.
right,
And then I really think that's a perspective that you don't really even see. Like you said, that almost character type of the woman, the slutty woman, that's Amy Schumer.
Right.
It's Sarah Silverman.
Mhm.
Right.
And they're effective and they work
Yeah.
because
And they're funny, and that's
they're
what
funny.
people come
Yeah.
to see.
Mhm.
But like you said, that the what's the other?
I wish
Tom
they all
Segura's
did. I
wife?
wish they didn't all have to say that. That's what I.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if that
agree.
wasn't, that's just such a easy way to get attention, I guess, on
Mhm.
stage. It's like I said with the young guys that just talk about their dick and fart jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're doing the
Similar,
same.
yeah. But it's not as. But the difference is, I think, for women, it does have an effect on the audience, like you were saying. I've heard that before too, where it's like women will get on stage and talk about things like that, and then they get off stage and then they're treated poorly because they set themselves up like that,
Mm.
And
Well, I
that's-
mean, that's like blaming a rape victim. You can't
Mhm.
really do that. But I wish it was different. I
Right.
wish they
Yeah.
had. It's easier for a man to do
Mhm.
comedy than it is
Yeah.
for a woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because we're better. Okay,
Just-
let's
okay,
just
you can
cut
cut
that
back.
out.
Yeah,
Cut that
cut
out.
that
yeah.
part out.
And action. Okay. I did want to talk about this though. The competition legends. We talked about Wild West Fest. Doing all this stuff where you're doing a lot of different. How do you keep up with it? Is it easier now that you're retired? Would you rather not?
I have to write it down.
you?
And Kitty reminds me of a lot of stuff.
How did you meet Kitty? What
Well, I was
Yeah.
playing banjo at Angry Scotsman, and she and Frankie came in, and it was really probably some months later that we became more and more and more friendly
Yeah, you
all the
start
time.
seeing
But
each other.
You guys are like
perform.
brother and sister. You guys are at each other.
well, yeah, I mean we have conflicts. You guys don't see it, but
Yeah.
yeah, we don't agree on everything.
Mhm.
But she does a lot for me, and I do a lot for her. And if she calls me and said I got a show, are you in? I say yeah,
Yeah.
or I say no,
Mhm.
and everybody else says, yeah, I'll do it if I don't come up with something better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I at least say I don't keep her on the
Right.
keep her on the
Yeah,
string.
give her the straight answer. That's
Just
always
go
better.
ahead and give her a straight
Mhm.
answer, and she knows that if she has kind of a general audience, that I'll get some laughs, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
she knows I'll show up, and
Mhm.
She can trust you.
Yeah.
she can trust me, and I try to help her with some stuff that I can. I mean, I can't help her with everything.
Yeah.
She's like Energizer Bunny, and the most
know how she
dangerous.
does it.
I don't know. I can't think about it that many hours a day, but
Mhm. Yeah. it's a
she's
lot.
most dangerous place in the state of Oklahoma is in between Kitty Gilligan and a microphone.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you guys just met there, and then you guys just hit it off. You work with her, and then she kind of helped you get into the different spots too, like as
Well,
far as
yeah, I
mics
mean,
and everything.
She puts on some shows, and I'm not very much help,
Mhm.
Hmm.
but I mean she runs a lot of things by me. We've got a idea cooking that's related to marketing. I'm not going to tell you guys
Yeah.
about because you'll steal it from us. But,
Yeah, we're not
Well,
recording
well,
anyway. What were you gonna say?
Well, just to see it after the
David remembers stuff. You forget everything, but David remembers.
Yeah.
So you'll see in another 3 or 4
Yeah,
weeks
I
what
was gonna say, we'll see if
we're
it
kind
works
of
or
coming up
not.
with. But aside from coming up with funny stuff to say, that the critical thing is getting a crowd.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
very
hard.
much fun playing to a crowd of 6 people.
Right.
Mm.
Because when you're getting good laughs and you're feeling good and your comedy's so much better, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
When you're getting some
Yeah.
feedback and
Get that energy back from the
Yeah,
audience.
yeah. and it's not much fun to play to a really small crowd and we're trying to figure out some way to get a better crowd.
Yeah. So that's what the marketing ploy is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's basically a trick.
Well, you'll
It's
forget and
kinda
tell me.
probably- Some would call it a Ponzi scheme, but you know,
Does this have anything to do with that class she's starting to put on?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
no, entirely different.
That
than
was cool.
Yeah, I
She
like
looks like
that.
she's trying to do a little class to teach people how to host and do
Right,
shows
right.
and produce shows.
Right,
Yeah.
because some reason or other,
You got a hand in that?
no,
No?
absolutely none whatsoever in that. I mean, by training and experience, I should, I suppose, be booking shows and collecting people's social security numbers and sending them 1099s and stuff like that. Get that scared look off your face, Nick.
Oh, I didn't make enough money to get a 1099. I know that.
But I mean, doing administrative kind of things. I've done that kind of stuff all my life.
Yeah.
I probably should be doing more, but I'm really so forgetful
Mhm.
anymore, and I'm not really good about figuring out what sequence things ought to be done in. And that's one of the things I seem to have lost when I had this stroke event. Is I just can't get things in the right order. But she does a lot of that. So anyway,
So who do you like more, Kitty or Frankie?
well,
Yeah, I know. It's obviously Frankie.
I want to say Frankie's a great guy.
He is.
And
He's a sweetie.
and there's a lot of guys he's like 10 years younger than me, so he's not really my age, but went to war and I didn't. He went to the service. I guess the war was over when he was there, and I didn't, and I have a little bit of regret about that, or guilt probably, because so many of my friends did. You know,
At least for a little while.
until they got killed
Yeah.
or shot up, and it's because I'm Vietnam era guy, and but for an unfortunate injury that I sustained when I was in 9th grade, I would have got drafted just like everybody else. And it's I guess I'm lucky for being boogered up.
Yeah. But you say Frankie did that?
Frankie went to the service.
He went to service.
And
Yeah.
served the country, and I'm ready to go to bat for anybody that's a veteran.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Anytime,
Anybody's got to deal with
any
Frank or
place.
deal with Kitty too. You know?
No,
No,
she's.
I'm just starting shit. I love Kitty.
If you went
Yeah.
through all the shit that she's gone through, you'd
Yeah.
look at that different. I mean, I was whining a few minutes ago about women in comedy. If that part has been deleted from the podcast, I'm sorry, but the 20 years ago is probably worse.
Mhm.
You know, they're not. She's she's a large woman, and there's nothing. She doesn't qualify for anything. You know what I mean? It's like an encyclopedia salesman. You know, we'll put these in your home if you qualify. She wouldn't have qualified. Anything, and she's taken it again and in the chops again and again and again and again,
She keeps moving.
and keeps on coming back for more. And they can kill you, but they can't eat you. And so I admire that about her.
Yeah.
She's good Irish girl.
Yeah. She's told when she was telling us some of the stuff that she went through, and and growing up in an age whenever, you know, being
I'm just talking about trying to do comedy. When she decided
Yeah.
to do comedy, I mean, there aren't any openings. There are no doors open for women
Mhm.
comics.
Right.
That's always been a
Always
hard.
tough.
yeah.
That's always been a hard avenue to follow, and yeah. So, I mean, she should be bitter
Mm-hmm.
uh,
She's
because you know all of a sudden you drop off of an email list for no everybody else, and you know
Yeah, you're like, what's
everybody
the
else is
deal?
getting the email except you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff seems to always happen to her.
Mhm.
Where she
And-
gets kind of tossed to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
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 It's a shame too, 'cause she is really talented.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, she's got a solid, at this point, I've seen her, and she's going to be at, Put a Cork in It December 13th on my headlining show. But she's got a solid 30 minutes now, like where it's
Right.
like laughs
Right,
every
right,
every
right.
2 or 3 lines,
all right,
and they're all good.
right,
And like she falls in line of a persona.
right,
Yeah, she gets a laugh right off the top with
Right.
that little mic on the thing.
right.
And it kills every time.
Yeah.
I've seen
It
it
kills every
time. So, but yeah, I think, but I think that she's in the same boat as you, where she's just like, I just like doing it, you know.
Well, I think she'd like to make some money doing it.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's,
yeah.
she's more. She would monetize it much quicker than I would.
Mhm.
You know, but
She's always trying to figure out a way to,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So, T. Bob Corvus.
Yeah.
I just think that's funny. So we got to challenges, being older, doing comedy. What else we got here? What do you got? You got anything good?
No, I think I'm
No.
good. I don't know.
You got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Do you have any shows coming up or
Mm.
anything that you're excited
W-
about?
there's a show in Anthony, Kansas that I think you guys probably are going to miss.
Yeah.
That we're doing next Saturday,
Okay.
and which is probably about the time that you're going to release this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the day after. So,
Oh, okay.
or the day before. So we comes out Friday. So the day after will be this show.
Whatever it is, the
Yeah.
7th or the 8th
Yeah,
or the
okay.
9th,
Mhm.
whatever it is on Saturday night.
Mhm.
And Anthony is in the center of one of the large counties on the southern tier of
Mhm.
counties in Kansas.
Okay.
There's 5,000 people live in the county.
Mhm.
There are 2,000 people live in Anthony. I think there's really only one other town that's a legitimate town in the
Yeah,
county.
in the area. For
And
sure.
Kansas is a little different than, it's more like Woodward or the Panhandle,
Mhm.
and there's no entertainment.
Mhm.
There's no
Yeah, I
movie
mean,
theaters, and
We did a show in Guyman. That was awesome. It was a great crowd.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
amazing.
they were happy
Really?
to see us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah.
I haven't
Similar.
experienced that. I didn't know that I didn't know that happened in Guyman.
Yeah,
I'm really
it's-
hopeful that something like that happens in
Mhm.
Anthony
Yeah.
because I mean I grew up in Kansas and I've got a lot of
Mhm.
friends that live out west and they'll drive 100 miles to do some
Yeah.
for some fun. I mean, it doesn't mean anything at all to them to get in the car and drive
Mhm.
100 miles because there's just not that many things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so if you find a venue in one of those like Guyman,
Yeah.
say, give it a try. I mean, and because, and like I said, I'll do it for fun, not really doing it for the money, but
Mhm. But you want
be
people
so
to
much-
show up.
yeah, if we get a crowd of 50 people,
Yeah, that's good.
uh,
I bet you can. Like I said, it seems
might be
similar
100.
to that Guyman show because I'm sure people were driving from other towns.
Yeah, we had people from Colorado
Yeah.
who were like, "Oh yeah, this was something cool that was
Yeah.
nearby that we don't usually
'Cause
see."
it's like, especially with comedy, you might be
Yeah.
able to go see a band or something like that
Right.
every
Right.
weekend, but comedy is probably much more rare.
well, this outfit, this county is Harper County,
Mhm.
Kansas. And there's a Facebook group. These are the
Yeah.
things going on in Harper County, Kansas. There's 5,000 people
Yeah. in
on
that
this
group.
Facebook group, which is
the whole town.
everybody in the county
Yeah.
Yeah.
or more.
Mhm.
What do they have on there? Is it like, oh, you can go over here
Yeah,
and get your
yeah.
hair cut, or you can go over here, cow tip. You can
Well,
go
they have more events,
Yeah.
Town kind of events.
crafting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time of year, fall festival kind
Yeah,
of things too.
festivals.
There's probably more going on there than you would imagine,
Mhm.
but
Well, they make their own fun pretty well.
Yeah.
Like that's the best part.
right.
But I feel like as a comedian, you're like almost like a traveling circus when you come into that town.
Mhm.
Where can you put where can you put 5,000 flyers in the front of people's face
Yeah.
Just put it
for
at the
no
church.
money? No, for no money.
Oh,
yeah.
The
Yeah.
church
Well, a
want money.
Facebook group. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the
But
church
that
would
is-
throw us out because they're PG.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
And we really kind of hold ourselves out as being pretty PG compared to.
Mhm.
Yeah, you guys do a good job.
Yeah.
None of it's really risque or
Mhm.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's adult subject
Yeah.
matter, but
Yeah.
it's not. I had some jokes that I told that I've taken out that were a little nastier than I
Mhm.
wanted them to be.
Yeah.
But you're saying that group page, you guys been posting on that, letting them know that you're
Mhm.
coming through.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been needling the lady who's like the site. There's a woman up there named Allie something or other. I can't remember her last name, but
Mhm.
she's like the booker,
Mhm.
the coordinator, and would goosing her every so often, make sure you post the flyer. And
Yeah.
there's some guy that's kind of local, I guess. I don't know where he's from, so there.
Yeah. So you
And
probably
that's
know
a
some
key
people.
thing too, is if you can get somebody. That's what happened to us at Go Laugh in Tulsa, you
Mhm.
know, because Todd
Irwin.
was Tulsa
Mhm.
Tulsa guy, and people will. I mean, their friends will come to see him, fall on their face.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and
And-
Jeannie, they did pretty good. Jeannie did killer.
Jeannie would do. Jeannie would do great as far as dragging all of her friends.
Yeah.
If she had a show in Norman,
Yeah.
I think that's where she has. I think that's where she lives. And
She out of
Mhm.
there. Yeah.
You
I
know
know
her a lot.
Jeannie.
You know her a lot.
I don't
better
think
than
she's.
I do.
I'm not sure where she's at. I think she's at it. I know I'm her best friend, or I'm good friends with her son,
Okay.
and that's how we met. Is we both? He's a plumber. I'm an electrician. We like share work, and I met her. I was over there doing some lights, and she kept making me laugh. I was like, dang, dude. And then so she found out I was a comedian. And then she went to put a cork in it. She's the
Yeah.
reason why we have put a cork in it. And then she's like, hey, this guy's really good if you guys want to put on shows here. And so she introduced us. And that's how I kind of got to really get to know her. And dude, she's like one of the best people I've ever met in my life, man. Just super sweet,
She's-
nice.
Right,
She's
right.
real personable.
That's what I was gonna say. She seems like she knows a lot of people because she
Mhm.
talks. She was a realtor, right?
Well, she had like 10 people at
Yeah.
another show.
Unfortunately, she seems to be in a committed relationship.
Yeah, well, you know, give it
Kind of a
time.
drawback for me. I'm having lunch with she and Kitty on Wednesday,
Oh, nice.
on Monday,
Okay.
Write it down.
and I'm gonna. Yeah, I will because Jeannie, you're cute.
Mhm.
You're real cute, and you're really funny. Take some of the verbiage out. Make
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You know, brevity is the soul of wit.
Mhm.
You need to tighten it up, and
Mhm.
you're going to absolutely slay
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
But she hasn't looked at comedy like you
Yeah,
and I have
right.
very seriously, or
Mhm.
I don't think, or philosophically, you
Mhm.
know what it
Yeah.
really means. But
Yeah.
She just loves having fun.
Mhm.
I know she does.
That's
loves
her
it.
persona,
That's
yeah.
exactly right.
It's like it seems like she take a little bit of that, learning those kind of tricks and things like that to really become something great. I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's a realtor.
Mhm.
You know, she's had to get people excited about houses for a long time,
Mhm.
and so she's just real good at getting you friendly and fun, and she's always been that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so-
I just think she's got a lot of
Mhm.
potential.
Me too. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah,
Mhm.
and people fall in love with her as soon as she hits the
Mhm.
stage.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she has that little kid like energy
Yeah.
where she's like, and she's got her notes, and glasses out. No, she's awesome. Where can people find you online in the world?
You can find me on Facebook as Dennis Maley.
Mhm.
Instagram kicked me off twice without ever posting anything. I never found out why. I
Yeah.
think maybe Granny Freak
Yeah.
was an
Oh.
insult for 'em, insulted
Yeah.
their standards, and so they kicked me off twice before I ever posted anything.
Really,
And,
Granny Freak did it.
Yeah, I think.
That's a
I
bummer.
think I I was kicked off so far that none of the links even worked to where I could write and figure out.
Oh
Right.
yeah, you couldn't even.
You couldn't even get any feedback from them to tell me why they kicked me off.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like they kicked me out back to the dugout. I mean, they kicked me
Yeah.
across the railroad tracks.
Don't even mess with us again.
So, and
You might try
I
it.
did a thing on TikTok, but I figured out TikTok and Instagram need me more than I need them.
Mm.
And I'm just doing it for fun, and they're
Yeah.
just nothing but a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they are.
But
That whole process
Seems
sucks.
like Facebook is a good market for, like you were saying. I like that about Facebook because there are so many people that use it still.
Right.
That are, especially the older generations. I mean, I think they're definitely more on Facebook than other platforms. But I mean, and in small towns too, I think that's huge for them. So Facebook is not a bad place to be still these days. And yeah, so follow Dennis there on Facebook.
Yeah, follow Dennis on Facebook.
Follow him on all the shows. You're always a lot of times on Kitty shows. So if you follow Kitty Gilligan, you'll find Dennis, I'm sure.
That's right. most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you'll see him on our shows.
Yeah.
We put you on pretty good.
Nick Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
comes
man.
Yeah.
We'll
also.
get you out there. We'll get you some of
course.
them old ladies.
So,
Well, thanks for coming, man. We really
Oh,
appreciate
guys,
it.
I appreciate it.
man.
It's great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate
for
the
sure.
appreciate the that's
The koozies.
the kudos.
Kudos.
I don't know. I'm not using the word right, but
No.
Yeah.
no, it's flattering to
Right, yeah.
think that you guys appreciate my comedy.
Oh, yeah. We love you, man.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you too.
But thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching out. Be sure to like, subscribe, do all the cool things. Hit us up on our email so you can ask us questions so we can answer them here. And then, keep watching.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel. We'll keep growing. Go back. I always like when we post new videos because it's like I'm always pushing the new one, right? Trying to get more people to watch it. But it's like when people watch those, so they go back and it's like, oh, let me watch this other one. Like all the numbers will go up. So it's like go back and watch the older episodes too. They're still there. It's still great.
Yeah, they're still fun. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.
Bye.
Thank you. A lot of pressure, huh? It's a pressure cooker.
Oh, shit.